Started? Started. All right. I did this earlier today and it didn't get saved. So I don't know what happened. And I'm going to start over again. And it's 7:05 p.m. Maybe somebody will show up and maybe not. I have written down some text that I'm going to read from first, because that way I'll have covered um, the important parts of what things happened. And after that, we can chat. I hope people have joined in. I hope I can save it this time. Okay, here's the starting. I've been putting off addressing this particular odd event in my life because I do not know if it was an alien or some other sort of creature that I encountered in November of 1979. I was living in Gaithersburg, Maryland, and I was about 8 months pregnant with one of my children. I'm not mentioning the name since it might be a problem for my offspring to have their name mentioned. Anyway, this one night I found myself lying on my back in my bed, although I never sleep on my back. And I opened my eyes and realized I could not move. It was mostly dark in my room. Only a small amount of light came in from the bathroom hallway. And I felt the weight of something. And when I opened my eyes, I realized there was some sort of a figure standing on the top of my large pregnant belly. It looks like somebody must have joined the hangout because, let me take a peek here. Hi. Can you?
Hey, how you doing, Jenny?
Okay. Could you hear me before?
I'm sorry?
Were you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I was reading, so I'll go back to what I was reading, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I have to change screens because I don't know any other way to do this. Anyway, there was this figure standing on top of my pregnant belly. It was about 3 or 4 feet tall and was cloaked in a hooded robe. He was holding a metal rod in one hand and pressing it down into my belly. I was horrified. I could not open my mouth or move anything but my eyes, so I started silently praying for Jesus to help me. After about a minute, I was able to barely open my mouth, and I started saying, "I bind you in the name of Jesus." I said it weakly, but then got more control over my voice after a while, and I repeated it again and again. Finally, I said clearly, "I bind you in the name of Jesus Christ, and I command you to go back where you came from." With that, the being that was standing on me, his darkened face suddenly was lit up from his eyes glowing like orange burning embers, and he gasped, and then he completely disappeared. So I was no longer paralyzed, and I sat up in my bed and was just kept praying for hours. I was shaking and astonished and frightened. I do not know what this individual was or what he was trying to do, but I was sure not going to allow any harm to come to my unborn child. I went to my clinic appointment and had an ultrasound done, and my baby was fine. Now, I know that scientists like to say that there's such a thing as sleep paralysis, and it's possible for someone to be half awake and half dreaming and be confused about hallucination or whatever. I will not accept that this is what happened for good reasons. For one thing, I only sleep on my side, either my right or my left side, and I always, without fail, awaken completely to turn over. I also had a bad aching feeling in my abdomen where the creature had been standing on me. If you ever hear of anyone proclaiming the name of Jesus in order to overcome being paralyzed, let me know. I've never heard of it. Anyway, did I send that creature into a spaceship, a faraway planet, or to hell? I don't know. Perhaps a different plane of existence. Your guess is as good as mine. I will say, I think we need to recognize that faith in Christ is a powerful thing. And if you have faith, you might need to avail yourself of this tactic someday. I did check on the rest of the people in my apartment. The children were sleeping nicely, and the one other adult was sleeping. Nobody was aware of this incident. Okay, I'm going to close that window out. And I drew a sketch. It's just a pencil sketch because I don't have all my art supplies out right now. This is basically what the creature looked like that was standing on me. And it was, about 3 or 4 feet tall, just standing right on top of me. It was pretty horrifying. I've talked to my brother Maurice about it because we talk about odd things all the time. He's real good about that. And he thought maybe it was a demon. I can't say that it wasn't. I don't know what it was. Anyway, earlier when I thought I was recording this, I went on a bit about how I think it's really important that if you have faith, you start using it. You can be really empowered by speaking up for yourself, and especially when you're really frightened. I've had to speak up for myself against people that were a lot more powerful than me, and faith can really do that. It can give you what you need. And I know a lot of people I've noticed like to say, "Oh, pull on the faith because I'm so doggone smart. I already know everything that needs to be known, and there couldn't possibly be God," and all that kind of stuff. But I think what they're really doing is they're saying that there's something hurt inside of them, and they're not willing to look at it. They either were mistreated by someone of faith, or they can't believe that God would be mean enough to take their favorite person away from them in life. And sometimes, a pet might die, and somebody might think, if there's a good God, this wouldn't happen. Well, stuff happens. And it happens to all of us because we're supposed to learn and grow from all of our experiences. And I certainly feel like I've learned how to rely on my faith when I really need it, and just in my daily stuff. But I would encourage anybody to do that. So, what are you up to, Jewel?
Well, I'm just, I can't imagine what it was like for you to go through that. I've had my odd experiences, but nothing quite like that before. I have something just popped up here, Jenny.
Okay.
I think it might have something to do with your hand. I wish Dawn could have came.
Me too.
Let me see here. I don't know why that keeps popping up. Anyway,
I don't know what it is.
I have another friend.
Mm-hmm.
You were already pregnant, but I have another friend who, and their mother would have told you the same thing. Her mother would have told you, okay? Her mother's not with us anymore, so she can't tell you now, but
yeah,
she had a friend that became pregnant one night with no reason to be pregnant. No one else was in the bed with her, okay?
yeah.
And I'm not going to go into all this and all that and all the other, but I'm saying I don't know what was on you. I believe something was on you, though, Mary.
Yeah.
Okay? I believe you with all my heart. Whether it was a being from another planet, whether it was some kind of demon in this dimension,
Yeah.
no matter what it was, I mean, I don't have a clue, okay? But can I see that picture you drew again?
Sure. It's just a real quick sketch. I don't know if you can see the whole thing,
Uh-huh.
but here I have like an indication of my belly.
I can't really tell over the internet because, I mean, you know, I can see it, but I can't see it like I could if I actually had it in my hand. Okay.
Right.
Let me ask you something. On that
Yeah.
robe, on
Uh-huh.
that, do you remember what color that robe was?
It was real dark brown.
Do
It
you
was a
remember?
very,
Do you remember if it had any round looking circles on it? Just a different color.
I didn't
That
see any emblems or embroidery or anything like that. It was pretty dark in my room. There was just a little bit of light coming from behind this image
uh-huh.
because my bedroom door was open and the bathroom light down the hallway let some light in. But the front of him facing me was not lit up at all. He was in shadow.
I had an experience with a little being, and this was in a dream state.
Okay.
But he had a robe on with a hood on too. He was talking to a gentleman, but as far as the little being went, his robe looked a lot like that,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't brown. It was more of a it wasn't purple, but it was a purplish color. But it had little round circle insignias on it,
Mm-hmm.
all over it, throughout, in different places. I never got to see his face either in my dream. And I dreamed, you know, when you dream, you really don't have a conscious of what the time is, but it seemed like I saw him for 15, 20 minutes, but I could never see his face. Whatever it was, though, I believe the face was dark. And yours was dark, right?
Yeah.
And this one that I saw was probably about 4 foot tall, standing up. But
Yeah.
he did not have a rod in his hand or anything like that. He was talking to another human being. And there was some kind of facility out back I could see out back of this man. But, I mean, I have no idea what that was. I believe you entirely with my whole heart. And I think, and I don't say I commend you because I think you're a pretty cool lady anyway, okay? But you did the right thing when you were saying, you said you bind him and to get away in the name of Jesus Christ, your Savior, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm all the time. It don't matter. It don't matter where I am or what I'm doing when I know something's not right and I know it's got anything evil to do with it. First thing out of my mouth, get out of here, Satan, devil, in the name of Jesus Christ, my Savior. I say it in the grocery store. I'll say it. It doesn't matter. If I feel it and I know it's not right, I say it. But another thing that you did that I think was right, I mean, who am I? I'm just a little person with an opinion, okay? But you didn't show fear to it.
Yeah.
If you show fear to these things, they manifest fear back to you. All you did, just always think of keep Jesus on your brain. If anything were to ever happen, this is just things I've read and seen, and I know with the devil himself it works, okay?
Yeah.
By just things that when the devil's trying to sneak in, you got to sweep him out right then, or it don't take long before an inch grows to a mile.
Yeah.
But that was very good. Everything that I have researched or learned or talked to people about other beings from other places, and I'm not talking like just a spiritual demon. I'm talking real extraterrestrial type beings.
Yeah.
Never show fear. They can read your mind anyway. So if your mind's going, Jesus Christ, please protect me. Jesus Christ, please. They're going to know it to start with.
Yeah.
And you're going to have a comment about you because you're going to know Jesus is there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He's always there, but you're going to feel it. But if you show fear, they're going to reflect fear right back, and it's going to be real bad for everybody.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense to me.
I think you did. I think you did very, very well. And your baby was okay, right?
Oh yeah, yeah, perfectly fine. My baby's in her 30s right now. So,
Okay.
oh,
Well, how long did this thing? Can you remember? How long did this thing stand on you? You got any idea as far as time goes?
I was aware of it for a minute or two
Oh, okay.
before
It's
I was
like,
able to overcome it.
did you wake up and find it on you?
Right. Yeah, that's exactly how it happened. And I'm sure it was there while I was sleeping and positioned me the way I was. Maybe I had been numbed or something, but I was definitely paralyzed because I never, ever lay on my back. I can't. It hurts too much. I have a really bad spine. So I didn't lay myself that way.
Well, weird things happen. I know. I've had something weird happen to me. I didn't see anything, but I sure felt something, and it raised me off the bed about that high. I wasn't up in the air or anything like that, and it's so weird, Mary. I had, I have a problem walking. Well, sometimes my legs actually go out. I can't stand up for 30 seconds. And my legs had been hurting me really, really bad, and it had run up where it was hurting me in my back muscles.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt it was like kind of like a little shock of electricity. It went from the base of my head all the way down my spine. The next thing my body was froze like, and my body came off the bed about a half an inch, and then right back down it went, and my back was fine, and my legs I could use them again. They're not perfect now. They're like they were, but I mean, I couldn't use them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, weird things happen to us. We don't really like to talk about it because people won't believe us, and I'm used to that.
Yeah.
But I just say what it is, but it's like I never was afraid and I never was scared. And some of the things that's been in my room that you probably heard me talk about.
I've heard a bit of it.
Well, it all happened. Things still happen off and on. You never know when it will or you never know when it won't. But some of the things that have happened has just been unbelievable. And I just tell people, if it happens to me, some little person out here and stuck on God's island, that's what we call it. This is God's land, okay?
Yeah.
Away from everything and no hustle bustle, no nothing. It can happen to anybody. So, people think I'm cracked. It don't matter. I'm not cracked. I always look at it. I always look at it this way. Every famous scientist or every famous genius has always been called a crackpot at some point.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So these people don't bother me at all.
I don't mind. Sometimes I can feel bad if a close relative has a grudge with me, but generally people don't, either they don't tell me what they're thinking or else I just don't pay close attention. But yeah, I'm not worried about anybody disbelieving me. I think that it's important to put information out there because somebody might be dealing with this kind of thing or they might end up dealing with it.
Well,
And
that's kind of like what I just said, Mary. It's like, this stuff has happened to me.
Yeah.
And whether people want to believe it or not, if it happened to me, it could happen to someone else. And I want to let people know it happened.
Yeah. I'll tell you, as far as the taking authority in your faith, a person that I've had to deal with, I'm waving to my son back here. Uh, you're doing what now? Okay. Well, I'm in the middle of a hangout, so here's my son dropping in to say hello. here's the camera, Joe. There you go.
Hello.
I guess
Hi.
on there. Anyway, let me give my son
I
a
was
kiss.
practically falling asleep. I was
You take it
practically
easy.
falling asleep. I haven't had to have a cup of coffee.
Okay.
Gene said that he was gonna leave here at 1:30.
Okay. Phone me.
Fine.
Phone me.
Okay.
All right. See y'all later. See what happens with my plans. Anyway, where was I? Oh yeah.
We're talking about faith.
I'm going to tell you one other incident where I had to claim authority in the name of Jesus. For a few years, while I was in the process of trying to divorce my first husband, he had joint custody of our daughter, and she's deceased now. I never mention his name because he's a horrible person. I don't want to have to deal with him. But he was molesting her on his visits with her. And I was working with a therapist for her, and I've talked to police, and I've been through so many things with, family services, and they were believing him instead of believing my daughter. And she had just turned 4, and I was getting her ready for a visit, and he came about 15 minutes early. And she had just been begging me to not send her. And I was so upset. And I couldn't break the law because he'd have me thrown in jail. So I opened the door and I let her get in the car with him. And I just very gently put my hand to his forehead, like you would do if you're checking someone's temperature. And I said, in this plain tone of voice, I bind you in the name of Jesus, and I do not allow you to ever harm this child ever again. And he was livid. He grabbed both of my forearms and was shaking me like he was trying to break my arms. And I just said, there's nothing you can do to harm me. And he just threw a tantrum and jumped in his car and drove away. And when he had returned Gracie after that visit, she told her therapist enough detailed information that her therapist was able to have him get arrested. He spent one night in jail, but that was the first time anybody ever took an action to stop him after I took authority over him. And he had to go to court, and he was never allowed any more visits with her ever the rest of her life. And she was murdered when she was 15. But
I'm sorry.
all those years in between, he was free of him. And being free of him changed our lives. Absolutely changed our lives, we still had to keep our eyes open because he would be hiding somewhere trying to kidnap her. But she didn't have to be hurt anymore, And that was, it's amazing how empowering Christ can be.
Oh, yeah.
And, I've been just having regular prayers about it for years. I was just, trying everything I could think of. And that was it. I had to follow the Spirit there and just lay hands on it. So I just, that's That's real stressful. I've talked about this kind of stuff for years in therapy and everything because there's a lot of stress, and abuse.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I'm sure. I understand completely. I understand completely.
A lot of bad happened in our lives, and
I'm sorry all of that stuff happened to her, and I'm sorry that her life ended the way it did too.
yeah, yeah. I figure one of these days I'll know who did it. The police didn't bother to investigate, but
Well, well, good luck. We'll keep that. We'll keep that in our prayers, but we all know how that goes sometimes too.
well, I know me now that if someone came up to me and say, Jenny, I did this to your daughter, I would take them to church with me and I would say, you need to go into confession because that's what I would do with that guilt. I would say, you don't talk about how you can get this off of you because I can't do it. It's too big of a thing for me to deal with. And, it's been 1997 was when she died. So if
Oh,
someone's carrying this around with them all that time.
wow, that's the year I got ran over.
Oh my goodness.
In October.
Yeah, this was 4th of July.
Oh, wow.
But, yeah, somebody had picked her up hitchhiking while I was out of town. And they threw her out the back of their van and she got struck by the following vehicle, dragged her 200 yards. So she was dead. But
I'm very, very sorry.
she's with Jesus now. And I know that. I'm very confident of that. So, what you were saying before about some seeing an individual like that in a dream, I wonder whether sometimes when we're sleeping, we might actually do what they call
astral travel.
Well, that was one way of thinking about it, but I was thinking more along the lines of it's something that the government has people doing where they mentally go to another place and draw things.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember what it's called either right now, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Remote viewing. You might have been seeing something that was going on somewhere else in your dream.
Well, it's so funny. Yeah, it could have been. Who knows? It's so funny. It's like things have happened to me, and I know, some people may call it intuition, but some things are intuition. I kind of know what intuition things are, okay?
Yeah.
But some things are just freaky. It's like, okay, I had a friend that died about 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about her because my original home is like 100 miles down the water from me, all right, on the ocean, okay? And I hadn't seen her in a long time. And she hadn't really crossed my mind in like 5 years. The day that she died, but we were really good friends. It sounds like we weren't, but I mean, for the longest time there, we were like really close, okay? And then I moved here and 50 miles, 100 miles away, and we just didn't see each other as much. Well, the day that she died, she popped in my mind clear as day. And I was thinking, I got to check on her and see what's going on. I got to call her. I got to find out what's happening. And it was the very next day that another friend called me and told me she passed away.
Yeah.
It's kind of like she was telling me goodbye.
Yeah.
It's just weird how things work. That's not intuition. That's something else. And I worked in a hospital in the ER for like 2 years. I was a paramedic. I did that part-time. Well, I did it full-time for about a year, part-time for half a year, because I was in broadcasting for 20 years.
Okay.
But anyway, my point is I've seen a lot of death, all kinds, natural death, wreck deaths, murders, suicides,
Yeah.
you name it, I've seen it, okay? None of that stuff has ever really bothered me. The worst thing about that was because I saw it so often that the hospital, it was mandatory that every so often when we see so much traumatic stuff, you have to go and talk about it. I mean, they're right there on the premises, you know. You have to go clear your mind and do. But the bad thing about so much death all the time, to me, another thing, now this may sound crazy to you, but it's got a certain, death has a smell. I don't mean like rigor mortis or anything like that. You can actually taste it though when you have it around you, and you can't get rid of it. Time is the only thing that makes you quit smelling it or tasting it. The bodies, the people, they didn't bother me at all. But that taste in my mouth,
Yeah.
and that odor that I would have, smell all it, that run me nuts. And I don't know why, but I'm telling you, it's like you just can't get rid of it. And it's a smell that I can't describe.
I can't hear you now. Something happened.
You can't hear me?
Oh, there you go.
Okay, yeah. But things just happen, and everything happens for a reason. Now, my mother, bless her soul, she told all of us, this is before my brothers died and anything. My dad passed away.
Yeah.
And she told us, because it was about a week after he died, because 2 weeks after he died, my brother that was next to me, on Christmas morning, his house caught on fire and he burned up.
Oh.
And then, and then, let's see, it'll be 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago, this past December 29th is when my mother passed away. And 2 weeks after she passed away, my other brother died.
Wow. Goodness.
But anyway, I'm jumping all ahead and stuff. My mother told us that she went to bed and she wasn't dreaming and she wasn't afraid and it wasn't anything like that. But she had gone to bed. She had closed her eyes. She wasn't asleep. She just closed her eyes. And she saw that something made her open her eyes. It was like a light at the foot of her bed.
Mm-hmm.
And she said it materialized, and it was her husband. It was my daddy.
Wow.
And she said he walked around to the side of the bed, and she said to him, "What are you doing here?" And he said, "I had to make sure everything was okay." And then it's like he faded right away, and she never saw him again.
Well,
I mean, you know, I've never seen any of my people like that.
Yeah.
But I don't think my mother made that up either.
Oh,
She wasn't that type of person. I mean, she just wouldn't have made that up, you know?
No.
And I've often wondered, I've seen orbs in the sky. I've got orbs on tape.
Oh.
Orbs on disc. But I've seen orbs in my room on more than one occasion. One night, in this bed right here,
Yeah.
okay, I sleep right there. I always put me a bottle of water on my nightstand so I don't have to get up because it's hard for me to walk.
Yeah.
And I wanted a drink of water, so I woke up. I wanted some water. When I turned up, there was an orb floating right here. I mean, just floating right here around my bed. It wasn't huge. It was about yay big around, and it was white crystal-like. Is what I call it, white crystal-like. Well, when it saw me, went out the window. But the really big one was in the corner of the room. And I have a little cat, and she'll sleep with me sometimes.
Yeah.
This thing, if my neighbors had been up at the time of the night it happened, they would have thought that I had my lights, every light in my house on.
Oh.
This thing was huge. It was at least the size. It was a little bigger. The middle of it was bigger than a basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And it had glowing spheres that came out of it. Now, this other one had glowing spheres that came out, but it was this white crystal light too. I didn't do a thing. I was laying in bed, but my eyes are closed now. It's just like somebody turned the lights on. The top lights, my eyes went just like that. I was not asleep, but I could not move. But I could move my eyeballs, okay?
Yeah.
I was not afraid, though, and I wasn't scared. And it only took that thing about a split second to figure out after I had opened my eyes, I was looking at it. I mean, I looked at it for maybe 2 or 3 seconds with my eyes wide open.
Yeah.
But then it figured out, and boom, it went out the window. Now, I've had this one guy from the Air Force contact me.
Yeah.
And ask me different things. And I've seen these spheres, but they're even bigger than that outside. I mean, they are huge. About 20 feet in the air, flying down the water. Twice I have seen them where they go whoosh, flying, and I try to get out there and video, and it's so fast there ain't no way.
Yeah.
But twice, right behind it, here comes a black helicopter.
Oh, good.
The orb would go, yeah, the orb would go whoosh, like that, and then you got the helicopter coming along. But here's what's weird about it. The helicopter doesn't have any lights on. It makes no noise. You don't hear a helicopter. It is jet black, and it has no markings whatsoever on it.
Yeah, that's a stealth operation there.
Well, you know what this dude told me it could very well be?
Tell me.
Okay, well, all of it. He says like this really big orb that I was talking about in my house
Mm-hmm.
could have, he says he didn't say 100%, but he said there's a very good possibility it could have been a couple of extraterrestrials that hadn't materialized. And I woke up right before they did.
Hmm.
All right, this other thing out in the water that's really huge, he says that's ETs, and the reason I don't hear the helicopter,
Yeah.
it's a hologram they're shooting out behind them to distract from them.
Well, that would be pretty clever. I would say there's a real good reason to suspect that those globes or spheres are either extraterrestrial or interdimensional rather than just being spirit, because I can't imagine a spirit visitor having a helicopter chase it.
Well, like Well,
I
that's
were
right.
you,
Well, like I say, that's when they're outside and other people see them. It's not just me; it's everybody who lives back
oh,
here.
I'm sure.
You know, but like these that come in my room at times, I haven't seen them in a while. Okay, but I have some kind of little beings that run me wild in here sometimes. You've probably heard me talk about it. I never can really actually see them, but I can see like a little outline.
Okay.
And they don't walk like me and you walk. They kind of hop. Okay?
Okay.
I can be sitting on the toilet and they'll flush it sometimes.
Oh my goodness. That's a little bit rude.
Well, I'm not trying to be rude or
No, no,
crude
no.
or,
I mean for them to be in
but
there
I'm
when you're
just
using
saying,
the bathroom.
and more than one time, even if I'm not in the bathroom, the commodes are flushed sometimes.
Mm. They must be fascinated with the water. Um, maybe they're childish.
And they're very small.
Yeah.
They're like, I'd say they're probably smaller than the little man in my dream was. And he was about 4 foot tall. These are probably about 2.5 to 3 foot tall. But I really shouldn't say that because they're always a little crooked like. You know what I'm saying? They're not like really straight up.
But probably bigger than your cat.
Oh, they're a lot bigger than my cat.
Okay.
A lot bigger. They're probably, if you wanted to compare it to a human, they're probably the size of around a 2 or 3 year old. That's about like what the size would be. But like I say, these little figures, you can see them big as daylight, darting all around me. And I got to where I talk to them, or I just tell them to go on, or whatever. And it's like, but I've noticed if I talk to them, they'll hang around longer.
Okay.
If I just ignore them, I'm not afraid of them. I've seen them so much. That's just the whole thing about it. The night these things were in my room, I drank my water when the small one was there, and then went back to sleep. And then when that great big one was there, and after it left, I could move fine. I couldn't move though while it was in here. And my cat couldn't move.
Oh. Okay.
My cat couldn't move either. But it's like, after all that was over, I got up and I went to the bathroom and I came back and I went to bed and went to sleep. It didn't. No bad dreams, no nothing, never dreamed about it, never anything. It just happened.
You know what? This reminds me something I hadn't even thought about for a while. I lived down on 4th Avenue in Conway, South Carolina, back in 1995. And my 2 youngest girls were still with me. And they were high school students. And there was 2 beds, 2 bedrooms in this little house. So what I did was I made the laundry room, since it didn't have a washer and dryer, I just put my little single bed mattress in there on the floor, and I slept on the laundry room floor. Well, one night I'd come in from work and the girls were in bed, and I just went and laid down in the bed, and I noticed something was shaking my shoulder. So I turned and looked, and there was a little caped figure in dark, and I just said, I'm trying to sleep here. And it went away. I wasn't afraid of it at all. Whatever it was trying to find out what the hell I was doing in that laundry room.
Well, it's amazing things that happen to us that it's hard to talk about them.
Yeah.
Because people will really think you're cracked half the time, but you're not. And it's like, I know what happened to me and I know what I saw. And you ain't going to change my mind because it happened. That's like, it's so hard for me to believe how many people does not believe there's just as good a chance for life. It may not look like me and you,
Yeah.
but there's just as good a chance of life to be anywhere in this huge, vast, multi-universe that the Lord made. You know, he made some type of being before he made us. Come on.
Oh, there's all kinds of stuff that we don't know about, or we haven't figured out what it is. I mean, how long it is? For so many decades, everybody thought a platypus was just a myth. Well, guess what? Platypus is real. So,
Well, you know what? We got these crazy people still today think we never went to the moon. What is wrong with these people? I mean,
it's the Flat Earth Society.
Yeah, what is really wrong with these people? It's like, you know, and people can think that we haven't been back to the moon, but we have.
I think they're afraid.
They're making this big production, Mary, about going to Mars. They already been there.
Yeah.
We just don't know about it.
Oh yeah.
You know? And the government and Lord.
I'm right.
The government is in so many mining projects on so many different planets. They know about a lot of these other people or beings or whatever you want to call them.
Yes, they do.
And I'll hush, but I'm just telling you, all this stuff is real.
I'm giving myself a name tag.
What did I call you again? I'm sorry.
You called me Mary, but that's okay. You'll get used to me. It's Ginny.
Well, you know, I started out on the right foot, and then Mary popped back up.
That's okay. It's confusing when you just know me from the internet and my silly ID comes up. My grandmother's name was Mary. And when I first signed up with Yahoo back in the dark ages, my own name wasn't available unless I put numbers after it. And I can't remember numbers. So I tried one grandmother after another. I had 3 grandmothers. And since they were all deceased, I figured nobody else was using their name. And I hit on one, my grandmother, Mary Elizabeth Cousins Aldrich. I just used Mary Cousins and found that as an ID for myself. Because I'm not going to have a whole bunch of numbers after my name.
Well, you know how I got my famous YouTube name. They gave it to me.
They did.
J7409. They gave it to me.
Well.
So I kept it.
It's a funny
one. I'm not going to get rid of it now because I got over 10,000 subscribers.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to get rid of it now, you know. But I understand why
they're giving my son a hard time because he has like a pen name. He does writing. He's writing plays and movies, and he's doing some acting and filming, and he's an artist, you know, so he's got a name that's not the same as his real name. And somebody started trouble for him and flagged him on YouTube and on Facebook, and they've blocked him out of his accounts. And he can't get his Google account because somebody said something bad about him. And, you know, I've tried to go to bat for him and say, you know, he's perfectly nice, normal adult. He's not trying to fool anybody. He's an artist. We have artists and musicians in our family, and all of us have alterations to our names. My brother Maurice likes to be called Bullfrog. Now, Facebook told him, no, you have to use your real name. Like, Bullfrog's Blues was a perfectly good name for his Facebook page. Now he has to have a separate one with his name Maurice Brown on it. So, you know, they just won't make up their minds whether they let us be who we are or not, you know?
Yeah, I know.
It's
yeah, they track it. Like, they know everything we've said tonight, you know?
Yeah, and I know they track my cookies because they keep showing me ads for things that I've already bought.
Well, one night I was having a hangout, and I was in one of my rip snorting moods. And I can't remember exactly what I was talking about, but it was something about NASA. And I did a big hangout where I researched like 40 hours, all of the secret society and all of the devil worshiping. And you may have seen it. The JPL
I
don't
saw
even
part of
stand.
it. I've been going back and watching a bit at a time.
It don't even stand for Jet Propulsion Laboratory. It stands for Jack Parsons.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
But anyway, I was hitting on a bunch of trigger words. They knocked me out 3 times of my own hangout, and the third time I never got back.
Oh, gee. They really need to have a better hobby than that.
Right trigger words, and you go down. And
Yeah.
I was hitting them like bullets shooting out of a 6-shooter.
Yeah, that's why my titles are a little bit obscure.
Well, it don't even matter what your title is, honey. They're listening to us.
Yeah.
They know what you're saying. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I
And I'll
know
never
that
forget.
there's a lot of things out there that they want to keep hidden. But I also know that as long as we realize that it's because they have a power trip, we don't have to let that affect us at all. You know, they think that withholding information is going to keep us stupid, and we don't have to be stupid. You know, I'm always telling people, you know, if they were trying to protect us, like some people naively believe, they would tell us not only the truth about what's going on, but how to prepare for what's coming up next. Because that's how you protect somebody. When I'm teaching a child how to ride a bike or how to cross the street without getting hurt, I don't tell them there's no such thing as traffic. You know, that wouldn't protect anybody. And you got to see them for what they are. They're liars and they like their power. You know, that's fine. They can have it. But we still are able to know everything we want to know. I think there's a lot of spiritual things. And, you know, we've touched on a few of them tonight. I know that I've had dreams of people that have passed on telling me that the next person in their family is about to die. And it happens. And I've had little things like one time when my oldest daughter was a baby, we were at the 4th of July fireworks, and I closed my eyes for a second because we were laying down on blankets. And I had an image of a burning ember coming down and hitting her in the face. So I got up and picked her up and started walking towards the car. And my family's all going, Jenny, it's not over yet. And I'm saying, I'll meet you at the car. A burning ember came and landed on the pillow where my daughter had been. And everybody's like, Jenny must have known. Yeah, Jenny did know. And they're like, Jenny, why didn't you tell us what was going to happen? I said, because Dad would have made me come back. So I never tell him anything because he's a very stubborn man. He burned his fingers on it trying to brush it off with the pillow. But it would have ruined my daughter's face. If it had been on her face, you know, she would have been scarred for life. Sometimes I'll get a glimpse of something and I'll know that I got to take an action right now. Other times I've had departed people come and say a word to me. And every time what I do is I pray about them. You know, if they need somebody to pray for them, they'll come to me. So, no,
you know, Jesus tells us that there's nothing that we cannot do if our faith is strong enough.
Absolutely.
I mean, you know, a lot of people, if we were to go, that's a lot like Jesus gave us so many talents. We never really learned how to use them, you know? Yes. That's why, you know, if you were to really get good at like levitating something, people would call you a witch.
I have been called that.
But it doesn't. that's not what it is to me. To me, it is, you know, that's a talent they learn to use. And if God didn't want them to use it, they wouldn't be using it if they're not doing it in the wrong way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's
Just like, you know,
matter.
if your faith's strong enough and you really want to do it, you will learn how to do it, and you won't stop till you do it.
Yeah.
That's just like, you know, he tells us we can move a mountain if we believe that mountain's going to move.
Yeah. And a lot of times what stops us in our lives from accomplishing what we need to do is our own fears and self-doubts.
Exactly.
I'll tell you, for years, all I wanted to do was come and live near my son, because I hadn't seen him since 1994. And I didn't get to raise him. I was 12 years old when he was born. And my parents took him away from me and said to everybody that he was their son. He was 42 when I was finally able to say something to him. I never said anything to anybody. And it was killing me that I couldn't have this personal relationship with my son. And he moved from California down to South Carolina, and I was up in Indiana. And I was just feeling like, you know, how am I ever going to be near him? Because I didn't have any money. I didn't have any prospects for making more money. No matter what I came up with, I'm still in a hole all the time. You know, it's like you can't get.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The minute you have 2 cents more than they want you to have, they take it away from you. You know, I have Social Security, SSI, and SSA, because one of them's so small they supplement with the other. So they have special rule for me. If I make more than $65 in a month, they get 50% of every dollar after that before taxes, which means when I had a job part-time making $9 an hour, I ended up with less than minimum wage. And that was back when minimum wage was $5. So basically, I can't afford to work. Even if I'm able to find something I can do, I can't afford to do it. But as I was saying, you can't get ahead. And I was telling myself that I'm never going to get to see my son for the rest of my life. And then I told Joe how I felt about it. And he rented a truck, and he fixed up his little mobile home here for me. And he moved into a house to rent. So I'm paying just a little bit to live here. He took care of that. And I see him at least once a week, usually twice a week, you know. And it's like I was defeating myself by holding that back and keeping it to myself. It's not always something that we've just been praying about, but sometimes it's something we just haven't spoken, you know. And if you have a need and somebody can't fill it, they might know somebody that can, you know. You should always say what it is that you need, and be sure it's not just what you want and you don't really need. But I need my family.
There's the biggest difference in what you need and what you want.
Yeah, a Rolls Royce would be nice, but I'd be glad to get a ride from anybody.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's like, you know, I'm hungry and I want a steak, but if you just give me something for a sandwich, that'll be fine.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're saying. And people don't get that, you know. If people, it's nowadays, most, not all, but a lot of people. Me. Gotta, have. No, you don't. I have a handicapped pickup truck that I bought in 2004.
Yeah.
I bought it brand new. Good Lord's will, I got it paid for a few years ago. It runs fine, and it looks fine. And I don't want a new vehicle. All of my friends, just this year, also 2 this year and 2 last year, bought brand new cars. Now they're belly aching about their car payments.
Yeah. The car owns them.
It's like, I can't afford a car payment. And I think back, the good Lord's the reason. I don't even know how I got my truck paid for, but I did, and I wasn't late. But how I did it, Mary, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, you look back and you think like, wow, man, how did I do all that? But it's like, I don't want to be, there's nothing wrong with what I've got. And I don't have to. Okay, I'm in my bedroom now. I have one little 19-inch high definition TV.
Okay.
The only reason I have this one in here, I go to bed early, but I get up when there's nobody creeping around. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm up. It's nothing for me to be up at 4 o'clock in the morning, days in a row.
I usually get to bed by 5 in the morning.
Well, that's when I do a lot of my astronomy work. It's like when, the dogs have gone home. There's not a lot of stuff running around to knock my stuff over. It's hard for me to get stuff. It takes a lot for me to get my stuff set up. And I want to do it when there's the least motion going on. So anyway, it's like, that's when I go to bed fairly early, but I get up fairly early.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's 5 o'clock. Most of the time it's 4 o'clock. And if I sleep late, if I don't have to do anything, if I sleep beyond 7 o'clock, I don't know what to do with myself.
Well.
So it's like, that's when I do it, most of my work like that. But I do understand. But like I said, the only reason I got this little TV in here is because the other little TV I had, the picture tube burn out in it.
Mm-hmm.
In my living room where my big TV set is, it's still a tube TV.
Oh, neat.
And it plays just fine. I don't have to have a high definition TV in there when the one I got shows me the same picture.
Yeah, I don't have high def either. My bedroom TV is supposed to be color, but instead of color, it's sort of pink and gray.
Okay. Well, it's like, but that just goes to show, it's like, and I have a flip phone. You've seen me with my flip phone before, I'm sure, at some point. I don't want a fancy cell phone.
I have the famous Obama phone.
Well, you know what, though? When this phone wears out and you can't charge them anymore, you know how they get after a while.
Yeah.
I've had them a long time. I was informed when I went to pay my bill about 2 months ago. They informed me that there will be no more flip phones.
That doesn't mean you can't find one on eBay.
You're going to have to buy a fancy phone, okay? I said, well, if I have to buy a fancy phone, I'm not going to use it for anything else besides I use my flip phone. I'm not going to use it for the internet.
Yeah.
I have a computer, and if I'm out and about, or if I'm talking on my phone, I ain't going to be using the internet doing stuff at the same time. I said, I do very little texting. I have my phone to talk on. Well, I'm sorry. We're not making but one model. And if you buy it, you're going to pay as much for it as you do a smartphone. So they're squeezing down on all of it.
So you just find another kind before they stop making those, and tell them they have to give you service anyhow. But, I wouldn't have a cell phone at all, except sometimes I go out. My son has taken to letting me borrow his car so I can go to church on Saturday evening. And If I don't have my cell phone with me, they start to worry. And I tell them, I've got the bell turned off while I'm in church. When I come out to the car, I'll turn it back on. But they need to know, even though I didn't drive for years, I've always kept my skills current. My driver's license is valid. I drove a 17-foot truck to South Carolina from Indiana by myself. So, that almost murdered me. that was terrible. I got lost on the Pennsylvania Turnpike. I wasn't supposed to be there at all, and I couldn't get off of it for hours and hours. But
that was a little scary, huh?
Yeah, it was.
That was more scarier than the ETs, Mary.
It was because I didn't know when the next town would come. I was, my Google Maps that got printed out for me were wrong. But I am going to need to go off here in a second because I'm late with my medicine and I have to check my blood sugar.
I understand.
But I want to ask you, does it automatically record this, or is there something special?
No. No? Well, whenever you did, you know what I think this is? I don't think this is a real hangout.
Huh.
I mean, it says hangout with me and you, but I think it's a personal hangout. It's not. How did you make this hangout? I'll give you a quick.
I am not sure what I did.
All right. Well, in order to make a real hangout where it records, you get a little button to mash for it to start recording. You don't have that, right?
I didn't see one.
No, this doesn't look like.
I have one that says it says start the broadcast, which I did, and there's one here that says stop the broadcast.
All right, it's recording then.
Oh, okay. So maybe we'll see this on the YouTube later.
It will post automatically.
If they don't, I will get my camera and do an ordinary videotape and download
it
with
does.
the information.
It will post. It may take it a little while.
Yeah.
It's not instant. Sometimes mine takes 15 minutes to 30 minutes, sometimes a little longer, sometimes a little shorter, but it will post it automatically.
Okay.
Have a good night, Mary.
Jenny, call me Jenny. Well, I'll get you used to me sooner or later.
All right. And maybe next time we can get some more people in.
I would like that. That would be great. I just finally managed to remember to send a friend request to Dawn on Facebook. And I added her to my circles here. So,
okay, good deal.
Sometimes I'm slower than I need to be.
You click that stop broadcasting.
Okay, I will.
I'm going to go ahead and leave, and you wait. Just count like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 after I leave.
Okay.
After you stopped it, and everything will be cool, and it'll do it by itself. Okay.
Okay.
Good night.
It's been great. Thanks a lot. It's been great.
You have a good evening. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.